In this video, we'll explore 5 common trauma-based personalities that develop out of childhood experiences. We'll uncover how these personalities form, why they persist, and most importantly, how you can start to reconnect with who you really are. Imagine this. You grew up in a home where it was always tense, like walking around on eggshells. Over time, you learned that the best way to survive was to adapt. Sometimes it meant staying busy to avoid emotions, and other times it meant keeping quiet to avoid confrontation at all costs. It wasn't long before these behaviors became part of your everyday life, shaping how you interacted with the world. Maybe you see a bit of yourself in what I've just described. Maybe you see yourself slipping into certain behaviors and patterns, or even personalities that don't really feel quite like you. If so, you're not alone. For many of us, these behaviors are ways of coping with really difficult childhood experiences. But over time, they can lead us away from who we really are. To understand these trauma-based personalities, we first need to see how childhood experiences can shape the way we behave, think, and interact with others. When we talk about trauma-based personalities, we're really talking about coping mechanisms that helped us get through really difficult experiences. As children, we were still figuring out how the world worked. And when things got tough, we adapted. We found ways to survive, sometimes by keeping quiet and keeping our heads down, or even lashing out. These coping mechanisms could be so effective at helping us navigate the world around us that they became part of who we are. Over time, what started as a way to feel safe turned into a pattern of behavior that started to feel automatic. We might not have even realized we were doing it. We just knew that certain situations made us anxious, and we reacted in a way that became second nature. But here's the thing. These behaviors weren't really us. They're ways we learned to cope, to protect ourselves, and to find control in situations that felt so unpredictable. They aren't permanent. They're not fixed traits. And by understanding where these responses came from, we can start to separate who we truly are from the habits we developed to survive. So now that we've got a sense of how these patterns formed, let's take a look at 5 common ways that they show up. Each of the 5 personalities has their own way of coping, and you might recognize yourself in one or a few of them. That's okay. First, there's the person who always keeps themselves busy. They're constantly moving, taking on tasks, and staying occupied from morning till night. It might seem like dedication and ambition, but underneath, it's a way to avoid what feels uncomfortable. For them, staying busy is a form of escape, because if they slow down, they might have to confront emotions that they're just not ready to face. This need to keep moving often starts early. For many, childhood felt chaotic and unpredictable, and keeping busy gave them a sense of control. It was comforting. It's almost like if they kept doing, they wouldn't have to deal with everything else that felt out of their control. But there is a cost to this constant movement. The journey here isn't about stopping everything. It's about finding moments to breathe and to understand that it's okay to slow down and it's okay to feel. It's okay to not have everything perfectly together. Then there is the personality that reacts with anger or defensiveness, ready to push back when things really don't feel right. it's easy to see them as confrontational. But beneath that, there's something so much deeper. For them, anger is a way to keep people at a distance, a way to feel safe when letting people get close feels just too risky. This reaction comes from a place of self-protection. Growing up, conflict may have been a very regular part of life, and they learned that the only way to survive was to be on the defense. It wasn't about winning. It was about staying safe. The challenge here is to slowly let down these guards. It's about realizing that not everything is a battle, and that there is strength in allowing vulnerability, even if it's just a little bit at a time. And then there is a personality who feels like they're carrying a really heavy weight, always expecting something to go wrong. It's not that they don't want to be happy. It's just that life has taught them that hope can be dangerous. So they've learned not to let themselves hope too much. This behavior often blends different coping responses, sometimes freezing up because the fear of disappointment is too strong. Other times, they try to stay invisible, not wanting to draw attention to themselves. For many, this began in situations where they felt unseen, unheard, or even betrayed. The path here isn't about forcing optimism. It's about finding small moments when you can see that you're not in danger of being disappointed. Even if it's just a small window, it's a place to start. And it's about allowing themselves to see, little by little, that things have a possibility of getting better. Next is the person who retreats when things get really tough. They don't like to be the center of attention. And when emotions get too intense, their instinct is to pull away. It feels safer to disappear, to not be seen, rather than face the possibility of being hurt. This need to disappear is tied to a protective mechanism. For them, shutting down and becoming invisible is a way to avoid the pain of opening up. If you've ever felt the urge to vanish in a stressful situation, you might relate. It's like if no one sees them, then no one can hurt them. Reconnecting starts in small steps. It's about finding spaces where they feel safe to be seen, learning to stay present when it feels really uncomfortable, and letting themselves be known without the fear of what may come next. And finally, there's the person who's always checking in, making sure that everyone else is okay, sometimes at the cost of their own well-being. For them, peace isn't just a preference. It feels like a necessity. They often bend over backwards to make sure everyone else is happy, even if it means neglecting their own needs. This response is about soothing potential conflicts before they even arise. Maybe they grew up feeling responsible for everyone else's emotions, always trying to keep things calm. It's as if their worth is tied to how well they can keep peace. The challenge here is understanding if it's okay to even set boundaries, to understand if it's okay to have needs, to say no without feeling guilty. They will need to learn that peace isn't something they have to earn by putting themselves last. Each of these patterns is a way of coping, a way of finding safety in a world that didn't always feel secure. But the truth is, living this way can be really exhausting, and it keeps people from being who they truly are. So, how do you begin to reconnect with who you are underneath all these layers? So it's not about forcing change or trying to be someone you're not. It's about gently finding your way back to who you are, one small step at a time. You can start by allowing yourself to slow down, even if it's for a few moments. Take a breath. Notice how you're feeling. For some, this may mean letting themselves rest without feeling guilty, while for others, It could mean giving themselves permission to feel emotions they've been avoiding. And it's about creating space to do this without the pressure of fixing everything immediately. Another step is to start recognizing when old patterns are taking over, or you realize you're trying to keep everyone happy at your own expense. The goal isn't to judge yourself for it, just to notice it. Awareness is the first step to begin change. Setting boundaries can be a really powerful part of this process. It's okay to say no, to take time for yourself, and let others know when something isn't right for you. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about protecting your peace and making sure your needs are seen and respected. Reconnecting with yourself also means finding moments of joy, fun, hope, no matter how small. It could be a walk outside, a favorite song, a quiet moment to yourself. These moments help to remind that there's more to life than just coping. This journey isn't about changing who you are, but about rediscovering who you've always been, beyond those coping mechanisms. It's a gentle and yes, slow, ongoing process. And it's okay to take it one step at a time. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share it, and join us in the next videos for more content about childhood trauma. Thanks, everyone.